Welcome to another Straight Up Tuesday tip. I'm 𝗤𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃. With me, as always, is Mark Ainley. Back again is Blake McCreight from Express Property Solutions. Blake, how are we doing today?
Hey, Tom, I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
I am well. For those who didn't listen to the last Tuesday tip that we had Blake on, please go back. Just a great overview of a wholesaler and how they can add value to your business. Also, originally, one of the first 10 guests we had on the podcast. So the middle of the original pandemic, episode number 10. Go back and listen to that one as well. But today, we're here
also
to talk about
the matchmaker who introduced us.
That is correct.
Oh, yeah,
that's how
right.
this all came together. So today, what we want to ask Blake is, I'm a buyer. I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to start looking at, doing business with wholesalers. Answer a few quick questions for us. One, how can I find people like yourself? Two, how can I be a good buyer? Like what is the expectation from my end? And then three, just talk a little about the actual process. What are expectations that I should be aware of, so I'm not caught like a deer in headlights with my first deal with a wholesaler. So a lot to throw at you, but I know you can answer this all in the next 10 minutes here.
Awesome. 10 minutes, man. I can get through this. Appreciate it, guys. I think like the first question is, how do I find wholesalers? And I think there's two easy ways. One, I mean, join all the Facebook REI Facebook groups and post a comment out there to, just let them know that you're looking for a deal in a specific area. And you'll probably get you're going to get a lot of responses at that point in time. So that'll allow you to get a bunch of names, contacts that you can start to work through. And then I think another great area is to just go into Google and search, put in "We Buy Houses Chicago," and to market on Google and run ads on there is pretty expensive. So you're going to get probably a lot of maybe the top people that spend that kind of money. So go on there, "We Buy Houses Chicago" or "We Buy Houses Schaumburg," and write down the 10, the top 10, 15 names that pop up. Write down their name and phone number of the company and give them a call. So those would be like my top two places to look, and you'll probably be able to get 25, 30 names pretty quickly.
Yep. And with most of those, is it signing up for getting the email blast? Like how simple is it to actually get that soft into, okay, this is the inventory they have?
Yeah, I mean, on the Google site, you're going to have to probably put your name in. There's going to be a phone number on there, so you could actually call. That way, you don't have to go through the web and wait for someone to call you back. You could actually just pick up the phone and call them and just let them know, like, hey, I'm a local buyer and new to the game, or I've been in it for 5 years or 10 years, however long you've been doing it. I'd like to talk to somebody on your team who sends out, or who your dispositions manager is that sells your off-market properties. And they're going to put you in contact. It's either them or they're going to put you in contact with somebody that handles that part of it.
Awesome. All right. So we go down this route, we find a property. How can I be a good buyer? Like what are some expectations of myself if I'm going to be buying a property from, Express Property Solutions or someone else?
Yeah. So be honest about who you are. So just, hey, I'm either, if you're brand new, you're brand new, right? Like, or if you've been in the game for 5 years, you're in the game for 5 years. So just be honest about how long you've been doing it. Be honest about your quote unquote, we use this word partner all the time in this business. And, if you're JVing the deal, you need to be honest about that. And, if you're not the actual end buyer. So just be real about who you are. Know really the areas that you want to buy in. Everyone said, a lot of times we hear, just send me a good deal. Doesn't matter the area, but really that's not true. I mean, if you buy in the south suburbs of Chicago, you're probably not going to go to, the far north side of like Zion or Gurnee. It's just too far, right? So really try and give them the areas that you really want to buy in. If you have a proof of funds, I mean, obviously that's good. Offer it up a lot of times and just show it. We typically on our side won't always ask for it because we can tell through a good conversation on how legit you are or you're not. Another great thing to present yourself is, like, if you're using a hard money lender, be honest about using a hard money lender. Don't say you're paying cash and can close next week when you're using a hard money lender that can't close for 2 weeks and they need to get in and do a full appraisal. right? So those are like some of the challenges that we run into, where just, it goes back to being honest about how your exit strategy and what it's going to take to actually close for you. Other good things that can help you out is like, go through all the pictures. We try and send out anywhere from 50 to 100 photos. So if you're excited about the property or the address, go through all the photos that are sent to you. Because a lot of times it'll show that it's a full gut rehab. Oftentimes we'll send out a deal, it's a full gut rehab, and you're super excited about it. And then you go out and look at it and you call us back and say, well, yeah, it's a full gut rehab and this just doesn't make sense for me. It's like, hey man, you could have looked at all the photos, right? So we try to, before we allow you into the house, we try to get you to go through all the photos and understand, like, would the numbers actually work for you? Based on the photos and like we do our own personal, a lot of times we try to do our own like real light inspection. It's not a third party, but we try to give as much content as we can to the property. So trying to do your due diligence. Man, another great thing to help yourself out is like, know your own comps. I've been doing this for a while, and it's so strange to me because sometimes we send out deals and I'll have two investors that have been doing this for, their full time, and they both have two different ideas on what the value is. So to ask the wholesaler, like, what's the value? What's the comps? Like, we honestly don't send out comps anymore very often, because we just found like two people have two different perception of the property. Mark might be using it as a rental, and Tom, you're going to do a full gut rehab and flip it. Well, there's two different values there based on the rehab, right? So that'll help you in presenting yourself. So let's see what else I can go. Knowing your costs. I mean, the quicker you can make a decision, it helps you out in presenting yourself. Like, try and go out, especially when you're new. I know it's hard. We're all trying to scramble for a deal, but I mean, if you can, kind of know what your costs are, like a furnace is $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000, depending on, your kitchens are 6, 8, 12, 20 grand, depending on the area. So that goes back to knowing your areas, and it'll really allow you to know your costs. So that way you can make quick and informed decisions.
That's all great stuff. So let's say we find one. It makes sense. We're going to put this under contract. We've never dealt with, a company like yours before. We go under contract. Walk me through here. Like, are you pulling title? What are some expectations that I should have so that I'm aware and not caught off guard and slowing down the process?
So some in the off-market wholesaler business, we're all like, as a wholesaler, all of us are telling the sellers that we're going to pay all your closing costs. So ideally, in the world, in our world, we've already pulled title and started the title search. So I think one thing that give you an advantage is just understanding, like, a lot of times, like, if you can pay both sides of the closing costs and factor that into your numbers, that really helps the wholesaler out. Know that, and that your attorney doesn't need to pull the title after, so if you're my buyer, Tom, and I've already pulled the title, and you come in and you want your attorney to pull title, well, we already have it started. So it's kind of slowing down the process. And for us, it's slowing down our system on how it actually works. So if there can be a little bit of give take on that side of things, it really helps out. Earnest money, putting up your earnest money right away of, $2,500 to $5,000, being willing to get that in right away. What we found is buyers that don't, if they say, hey, I want to do the deal, and they don't put their earnest money up tomorrow and it's 3 and 4 days later, they're not really real. So those are like true signs of a buyer that's going to perform or not. And then I think the other thing too is just be okay, like, with whatever your wholesaler is making, right? Like, the more transparent, like, being okay with it, it allows to, it allows us to, on the closing cost side of things, the whole transition. And a lot of times, if we can assign our contract versus double closing it, we can save you money on the transaction. And so I think that's another big thing is, as an end buyer, just realize, like, if you go back to my other episode, you hear how much money we spend in marketing. I mean, it's our average cost per deal is about $3,500 just in marketing costs. That's not to pay my employees to be on the phones all day and work that lead. So it's really an expensive, it's expensive to bring these deals in. So if you're okay with understanding the margins and make what your wholesaler's making, I think it puts you at an advantage as well.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like it doesn't really have an effect on your deal, right? If you're good with it at this number, if that guy's making $1,000 or $80,000, like once you close, it's your property, and like it doesn't matter what that guy made.
Tom, do you remember? I don't know if you want to share this, but I don't know how much you made on that 6 unit I sold you in Glenwood.
Let's talk. Yeah. So these are gonna be rough numbers because it's 3 years ago, but I think you probably made 50-60K on that deal as an assignment. It was a big assignment. I was still after rehab all into that deal for probably 275. It appraised out at like 360 or something. And then we sold it at 430. So like I got
to manage it.
Yeah, and you manage it. See, we're all
got to manage it. Yeah. I remember when I called you, Tom, I was real nervous because I was like, dude, I got to tell Tom, like, I'm selling this to you and I'm making 65,000 and it's a killer deal for you. Right. But it was a tough conversation. Like it was even for me as being in the business, it was like, this is my buddy, Tom, and I'm going to make 65 grand on it. But it was such an awesome deal for you. And I'd love to see how it performed for you over the years.
Well, but like within 6 months, I was up 6 figures. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like, so you can either bitch about that or guess what? 20 other guys would have taken that deal. Like you just rather be grateful to be in the opportunity and look ahead of what you can do with the thing.
Absolutely. That's cool.
Some awesome stuff.
I think
Mark, anything to add here?
Well, I think just to that point, everyone's got to make money in your group, whether it be your attorney's got to make some money on selling, your wholesaler's got to make money on his part. Like, I think the most successful people in this world make sure that everyone around them is making money. And as long as you're making money, you need to allow that space for everyone else to make money too. And those things repeat themselves. Those groups of people that get together and do deals repeat themselves over and over, which sometimes you see people just try to take every penny out of every deal from everybody else and think they won, but then they have to go find a whole new set of group of people to do business with because no one wants to do business with you anymore. So I think that's all important to longevity wise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, cool. Let's wrap here with the Chicago fact. All right. So Blake, last time you were on, neither of you guys got this. So let's see if we can do this one. And this is going to be pure guessing again, guys. So I'll give you multiple choice. All right. So according to Wikipedia, how many diagonal streets exist within the city of Chicago? And your options are A9, B17, C32, or D40. So how many diagonal streets exist within the city limits? 9, 17, 32, or 40?
40.
I'm going 32.
32.
There's a lot of little streets that go diagonal. If you're just going to count the main streets, I think you might be in that lower digit number.
Yeah. I was thinking 17 at first, and I'm like, it's a bigger city than I think, It's
especially on the northwest side, there's a bunch of like diagonal streets, like weird. It's only a couple blocks long, but there's a bunch of those.
No, even in Jeff Park, we have a bunch of Milwaukee, Austin, Northwest Highway, all basically intersect within like blocks of my house. There's 3 right there.
Yep.
So,
yep. All right, guys, awesome. Blake, thanks for coming back. Tom, thanks as always. Everyone, we have just updated our meetup page on the StraihtUpChicagoInvestor.com website. So you go on there, go to the meetup groups, and we have updated. We have some new groups added. We have some groups with some events coming up here in the first quarter. So being New Year, you got to get back out there and make sure you're networking. And it's all about who you know, right, guys? So thank you. And thanks, Blake. Thank you, Tom. And we'll see you Thursday.
Awesome. Guys. Thanks.